Button. Today we're going to hear from Jeanette Parker at Newman University, and she's going to talk to us about thinking about student access to campus library sources. Take it away.
All right, well, thank you and welcome everyone. It's nice to see everybody here today, or at least everybody's little black square. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation I wanted to show you first, just kind of talking about how we took on this project of introducing a class into our Canvas system. And then I'll take you into a live demonstration so you can see how we have that set up and what we've done to this point in time, because it is still a work in progress. Okay, and hopefully you're all seeing my Newman University degree of difference screen. Okay. And all right, so in thinking about student access to library resources, I am the reference and instruction librarian. And if you're at a bigger school, you will note I did say I am the reference and instruction librarian. I'm the only one at my institution. And so while I have a lot of different things that I work on and do, I do get to have a large variety of things that I do, which is to me a lot of fun and motivating and challenging when I think about how we can best serve our student and faculty populations. And so in working towards building a class in Canvas, I just wanted to talk about our motivation in doing that. So part of that came about through COVID, just trying to make sure that students were able to access and use the library resources. I didn't have a lot of class visits in the spring, and so, you know, just that feeling of students may not know where to go or know what they need to do to get into our resources. So I began working with our Canvas administrator to kind of figure out what we wanted to do. We did look at the LTI option of having that, the library resources as a menu item along the menu bar in Canvas. And we decided pretty quickly that probably really wasn't the way we wanted to go, because we wanted it to be a little bit more interactive for students, where they could submit questions to us and have more opportunity than just sending them out to the web page. And so you'll see when we do the demo, I have probably copied a lot of content that I have on my LibGuides, but there's also some fresh and new and different content that it addresses things in a little bit of a different way because of the format. And then finally, we had gotten a request from the School of Business, which that's always great to get requests from the different schools, you know, for things that they want to see for their students, especially in the library, because they don't make a lot of requests for us, not nearly as many as we'd like them to. But at the same time, it was also a little bit of frustrating when we were thinking about it, because we're like, okay, we go and we talk to our faculty every fall and every spring to let them know the resources we have available to them. So they're just like, is there some way you can connect our students online with all of the business resources? And my first thought was, well, yes, of course we do. We have our LibGuides. I've told you about it repeatedly. But instead, I was very nice and I said, oh, that's a great idea. What do you think would be a good way to get that going for your students? And so their request was something in Canvas. They felt like it would be really nice, since everything was becoming more centralized for them and their students, and just having one portal instead of having to go back out to the main library page or to the university page, to have somewhere they could click right inside of Canvas and kind of have a more seamless experience going back and forth between their coursework and their research. And so I'm a student at Emporia State, and they actually have a class in Canvas, and that's kind of what sparked the idea for me, was, oh, we can do a Canvas instead of doing this LTI option in there. And so then the next thing, of course, was to talk to all the people about that. And so in getting started, you know, I had to talk to our Canvas manager. We had to talk to IT, which, you know, is always challenging for me because I'm not a huge tech person, and I don't always understand what the guy that does all of this stuff to make it work, what he is saying to me. And he was sending me just these long emails with all this detailed description of exactly how he was going to make this work and what he thought was best. And I was like, okay, you do that and just let me know when that's done. But it gave us a lot more options. And so what we ended up doing was building 2 separate classes, one for our undergraduate population and one for the graduate students. Some of the needs are different there. I'm sure most of you have encountered that before as well. And so in wanting to customize some things, we decided that would just be a better option for our students, and then how to implement that and get that started. And so we had to really think about some practical considerations. We did have to meet certain design specifications for our campus in Canvas to make sure it matched and went along with everything that they have. And then just trying to figure out how we wanted to set up the actual content. If you've not ever used an LMS like Canvas or Blackboard, you have a lot of different options for how you set up the content within a course. And, you know, I've used the modules a lot in my own teaching, but didn't really feel like that was a good fit for what we were hoping to do for the Canvas course. And so ultimately we went with setting up pages with links. And so they can click on the menu item for what they want to find out more information about. And it just takes them to essentially a page that gives them the information, and I can embed different content in there, whether it's a LibGuide itself or videos or other links, whatever information I need to include to make that information helpful to our students. We did have a few hiccups as far as some of the IT things. Just trying to make sure that the right course number was set up. And so I learned a lot more about how some of that background information was set up. And that was helpful to me to kind of understand better what our IT guy was saying to me about the scripts that he was writing to make this run. And I really like it because it keeps the students that are enrolled in the course up to date. I think he told me it runs every 2 hours, which is probably overkill for what we're trying to do. But a couple of our graduate programs run on an 8-week cycle. And so there's new students enrolling every 8 weeks. And so it does keep that student list up to date in the system for us. So I like that it is constantly being updated. We did have concerns from some faculty as far as whether this would be beneficial for students, or if they would just not even go into the library at all, or if it would be confusing for them to see that there, if they thought they might have assignments to complete because they were enrolled in this class and that they might be graded on that. And so that has led to a lot of interesting discussions, I think, with some of our faculty as far as our intent. And that was also one of my reasons for not doing the modules, because I think our students and our faculty, at least here on our campus, tend to think of the modules as, you know, assignments and grades and papers. And so if I don't have those modules on there, that's not a concern. But I can still kind of incorporate some of the fun things that I can do through my LibWizards and my LibGuides, and not make it feel like it's a classroom necessarily for them. And then as far as content, and this is something I'm still working on, you know, I had a basic list of things I wanted to include, but I also want to stay away from putting too much in there to where they're just overwhelmed and can't really find anything. And I am able to at least see, you know, what students have actually clicked on our class and looked at it. And I think, you know, of course, if I had used the LTI, I would have linked them to our LibGuides, and, you know, we can track use on that. But I think this is kind of a fun way to see, you know, because I can see the last time they accessed it, you know, and those kinds of things. So I like being able to see that information. I'm not tracking that necessarily, but I can at least look at that and see the last time that they logged in and clicked on our class. So before I do the demonstration, I will just ask, I know those are really brief overview, but are there any questions about any of this so far? Okay, so I'm going to switch to hopefully my Canvas classroom. Okay, so you can see here on my dashboard, I use the same image for both the graduate and undergraduate. And we are still working on getting the undergraduate class populated, so I have not worked on that one as much. So I'm going to show you our graduate class. And this, of course, is not exactly what the students see, because this is my view as the instructor for the class. But we've tried to put just everything just right up front so they can ask questions. I can send out announcements, like we've done a couple of workshops for students. So I've been able to put that in there to say, hey, we're holding this workshop. If you want to join us, we'll make the video available for you later on. And so then I've been able to plug those videos into here so they can access and use those. And so I did under course resources, and I think I might rename this to something more specific for them. Just here's what you're getting into, here's how you log in. And then I've just linked our different graduate program LibGuides in here. And then of course my notification, we're still working on this course content, so keep watching for new stuff. And so we have had a variety of students from all of these programs logging into and using the course information. So I think that's been really good. And so, like I said, I have put in, I did it alphabetically. I can't stress how much this is still a work in progress and how much I will plan to change this as we go along and do some different things with this. And not all of these are live yet. But we are working towards, I don't know why I keep saying I am working towards getting all of these in here and helping students to be able to do some of these different things for us. And so the citation management was the first one I really worked on, because we did do a workshop for that. And so I was able to record that and then plug that video into here so then they can go in and access that app and get started with that and start going through here and using this. I don't have a lot of my options turned on as far as what students can see. When they come in here, they can basically see the home page, the announcements, and any discussions. So those FAQs or question and answer things that are available, they won't see any of these other options at this point in time. I have not opted to make the pages visible for them, because there's a lot of pages besides what I want them to have access to on here. And so it didn't seem feasible to have that turned on for them. And of course, I don't need the grades and all of those kinds of things on here. But it does make it nice, but I think it's everything with some of this kind of stuff always just feels a little bit clunky to me and not as seamless as I would like for it to be. I feel like with my LibGuides, I've been doing that long enough and working with those enough that, I know how I want those to look, and I know how to make it do that well for me. And then I use those when I teach in a class. If I go visit a class, I show them the LibGuide and show them how to navigate that. And, Canvas I have mostly used for asynchronous teaching. And so it just feels like that little bit of disconnect where it's not as user-friendly as I would like for it to be. But I think our students are getting much better about navigating through Canvas as a result of COVID and just all the hybrid and online classes that we're now teaching. So I'll ask again for any questions or comments. But you can feel free to unmute yourself too. Oh, I see Mara from EBSCO has put in the link for how to do your LTI integration for Canvas. Thanks, Mara. I appreciate that. So we have also talked about creating a class for faculty. It seems like faculty education is always one of our harder pieces to take care of. And I don't know how well they would use something like this. Sorry, what is LTI? LTI, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's basically a script that helps an outside program run through your LMS. And so you can use it for different things. Like we have TutorMe, it's an online tutoring program that our students can access. And so it just plugs into the system. So then they can click on the link and go straight to that app to be able to use it. Does that make sense?
Can you talk oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit more about Zotero? That actually isn't one that I have heard of, so I'm thrilled to see that.
Okay,
So I know it's a little off topic, but I'm pretty interested in it. Thanks.
that's okay. I think we have plenty of time. So Zotero, somebody else introduced me to it as a citation management tool that you can use to download citations from databases, from websites. I use it in WorldCat. I use it really everywhere. I've used it in Google Scholar. And so it puts the citation into this app that you download, and then you can make it format your citations in, oh, they have like 30 different citation styles. So I use APA 7th edition. So I have mine set up for that. So then I can download an entire collection. Like, so if I was writing a paper, it would download the entire list in the correct order with the formatting all done for you. I always still like to look them over, or whatever citation style you're using, or you can do the individual citations for your in-text citations. And I like using it just because you can also put the full text PDF file in there and it stores it all in the cloud. And so, you know, sometimes I'm working from home or I'm here at my office and I can sync my account together on different devices. And so whatever I've done in one place, it transfers to the other. I don't have to worry about trying to log into something else to grab my full text resources when I'm ready to print those out. They're all right there and organized. For web resources, it takes a snapshot of the screen that you're looking at as part of the citation. So I don't know if you're like me, I have trouble remembering, oh, what was that web page? So you can go right back to it. You can just click on it in the app and it takes you right there. So it has some really great applications for use for students. And I probably use it a little bit more with our graduate students because they're usually working on some kind of thesis project or some big literature review that they have to do. And so I do like using it. I have a copy of the video out on our LibGuides as well, if you're interested in that. And I saw somebody asked about the faculty course guide. We do also have a LibGuide for faculty, and I can't hardly get them to use it. And that's why I've wondered about whether or not it would be practical to have a course for faculty to get into and access. And I feel like I repeat myself a lot to faculty because they'll say, okay, I know you told me about such and such, but where do I find that? You know, and I have our faculty LibGuide listed under every single subject area in our LibGuides. And so it's probably what I think is the most visible LibGuide and probably the least used LibGuide. So so that's why I'm kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to do that or not, if I want to spend all that time putting that together. And yeah, I'm kind of torn about that. I'm glad I'm not the only one that repeats myself to faculty because I feel like I do that a lot. I call it banging on my library drum. You know, I just walk around campus talking to people, telling them about the library. So. Any other questions? I can show some more of these pages that we have linked so you can see what we have going on here. So, you know, we always have to have logging into library databases. You know, we have default usernames and passwords. So I've just put all of that on here for students. I know our University Relations Department, there's a video guy and he's working on a video showing students how to log in live. And so once he gets that video done, I'll be able to put that in here for students to be able to access and use. And that's been one nice thing working with University Relations and web services is, you know, they've given me access to all of their photos and videos. So then I can incorporate them into all of my things as well. And so that's been really nice. And they've given me my own YouTube channel under their umbrella so that it all meets with their guidelines, which, you know, they say you can go ahead and start your own channel and you can do your own social media, but I have found it's much easier to do it under their guidelines. So we've been using the coronavirus research database from the state library, which we've really enjoyed. And so I went ahead and linked that on here since that is such a hot topic right now. But anytime I do that, I try to make sure they know that it's going to take them outside of Canvas so they're not surprised when that pops up in a different tab. And so like this one, I just had it go straight to that database, which I have to go through a proxy. Sorry about that. I thought I was all signed in. And I just change my password. And so it will take them straight into that research database so they don't have to go back and forth, which I think is nice to be able to do out of here. I think Canvas does a pretty good job of being pretty seamless with that. This one takes them to the LibGuide I created for diversity, so they can see right away those resources and start exploring on there. So I don't have to put all of the video and all of the content that I've created into the course here. It just shows them that brief information for them to be able to navigate through here. So, and I like that they can look at the videos inside the browser or whatever, the window, and they can go through and do everything that they need to do.
We do have one question.
Okay.
How are students prompted to look here? Individual need to know or other ways?
Well, at this point in time, we have not sent out any general announcements to the students. And part of that is because there's not a separate student list for graduate and undergraduate. And I didn't want to send it out without having that undergraduate one ready. And so I've been using the announcements feature. Since they are all enrolled in that course, it does come up in their running feed on the side, and then they also get an email when I send anything out. So I try to be very judicious about actually sending anything out. And I can't show you my people page because I can't show you all my list of students, but I was looking through here yesterday just to kind of gauge how many students had actually clicked on the link. And there's about 450 graduate students enrolled in the class. And I would say about 1 in every 5 had clicked on it at least once to check it out and see what was available there, which I felt like was pretty good as far as the number of clicks on there. And a lot of them were very recent, mostly this week. Of course, it helps. This is the first week of the new 8-week session. So they're all starting to think about that. And then of course, once we get the course turned on for the undergraduates, I think as we get close to the end of the semester, they'll be clicking on it quite a bit as they work on their term papers. So my presentation is a little short today because I was anticipating a lot more questions than this. So please, if you have questions, ask. I'm by no means an expert, but I'm happy to talk about my experience. We actually don't have a chat reference service. I've looked at a couple of the free apps, but we haven't implemented any of those. Quite frankly, I have not had time to investigate those further and to see what we can do with that. But I would love to be able to have that as part of that. I think it would be a nice fit on our homepage and then also on our LibGuides as well. I have put in like I do on this particular guide, a spot where they can send me a question, into our LibWizards, and I can get back to them that way, which if you've not used LibWizards, it's really a great companion for LibGuides, but I can set it up to where it notifies me every time somebody submits something on there, so I can get back to them pretty quick. Well, thanks, Jessica. That's very nice. So yeah, I've been very pleased with working in Canvas. Well, thank you, Dr. Dow. I would like to be able to assess more. That's probably something that we have lagged behind in our library just because it is hard with such a small staff to get a lot of that done. But like I said, we're trying to improve this and making some more things. If you see something on here you don't think, or you think should be added, I felt like this was a nice starting list for getting students into using the library. And then once they get into their LibGuides, then they can get that more specific information about how to do things in their own particular subject area. Okay, I've seen other schools that do that too, Jessica. I think that's a great idea as far as creating modules in the Canvas Commons.
50% of total ballots cast in 2016, and Florida, where more than 7 million people have voted.
Okay, I think somebody's news is playing.
That's our news.
I've seen other schools that do that, and I think it's a really great idea to get things going. I've created a couple of things like an APA style formatting quiz, and several programs want that on their guide for their students to take. And then they just tell me, hey, I had all my students take this. Can you send me the report? And so I do that for them. And that's worked really well, but it's just one of those things, like time prevents us from getting a lot of that stuff done. And I think that's also one of the appealing things about doing the course in here is that it gets to all the students in all the programs and not just one or two of the programs that have made the effort to ask for that information.
A few minutes ago, I think you mentioned another resource I wasn't familiar with. I think it's called LibWizards.
Okay, it's a subsection, I guess, or companion to LibGuides, but it allows you to create surveys, forms, quizzes, and tutorials. And I use them pretty extensively especially in the course that I teach. I use a lot of the tutorials because it helps you, like you have your central panel, so you can have your video, your text, or images, whatever you're using to teach with, and then you can run questions down the side of it. And so they answer their questions as they interact with the content you have on the main part of the screen. And those are a lot of fun to work with because you can do all different kinds of things. The only thing is you cannot embed Google into LibWizards, which is frustrating to me. And so like when I'm having them do just an internet search, I have to use Bing, which the students are always like, Bing, what's Bing? Can't I just use Google? And so, but you have to work around that, but it's kind of fun to be able to do that because you can make it be a quiz, or if you're having them do some searching, they can plug in the answers to whatever they happen to do on the database searching. And then the quizzes and surveys I use those quite a bit. And I think the one I had embedded on here in the LibGuide I showed you, this is just a form, and so you can make it be however you want it to be. They're pretty flexible. I've really enjoyed having those. Can I tell if students are coming into the library for assistance? I've actually had a lot more requests for assistance, but I think it's also a side effect of COVID and not necessarily based on the course. This launched when students started back at the end of August. And we've had several come in and just say, hey, what is this? And so we tell them what it is. But I've had a lot more requests off of my appointment requester than anything else, or students just emailing me directly for an appointment. And it's been really interesting as far as the interactions I've had with students through that. And, I would say I usually average about 30 to 40 personal consultations with students in a month. And that's gone way, way up. I don't know if it's because a lot of them are working from home and can't make it into the library. And so I do a lot of Zoom meetings with students for half an hour. Every once in a while it goes up to an hour, but I try to keep it in that 15 to 20 minute window with them. But I've had a lot more of those where they ask a lot more questions and they're a lot more interactive than they have tended to be when they come by my office or come into the library. So it's interesting. Yeah, they want me to help them search. I feel like it's also connected to the course that we teach. It's college research literacy, and I use the ACRL framework for InfoLit, and we talk about developing a search strategy and creating a research question in that class. And so I get a lot of those students coming back to me and, hey, I just need a refresher, or I remember what you said. Can you walk me through that again? Or I even have some, my friend was in your class and they said I should ask you about how to do this. So I'm getting a lot more of those kinds of things as well. And I get tons and tons of questions about citation styles. I would say, other than how do I search to find this topic, citation questions are number 2 in the list. It's a lot of those. And we don't have one designated citation style for campus. So I have all my citation manuals. I keep them handy here on my desk. We do Chicago Turabian, MLA, APA, and then we have one program that requires AMA. So that's been interesting to get up to speed on all of those. We do and we don't have a writing center on campus. We've had a lot of changes due to budget and people leaving. And we did have I felt like a thriving writing center and really good peer tutors. And then the person that was in charge of getting all those tutors set up and everything ready had a lot of other duties added to their position. And so it kind of wasn't happening as much. And they went to the Tutor Me because of that, because they were having trouble recruiting student tutors and getting faculty to recommend student tutors. And so I know there is a writing component, but I know from talking to our English faculty, they're very dissatisfied with that. They want the live face-to-face peer tutoring available for students. They feel like it's a lot more effective, and I would probably tend to agree with that. But they don't do a lot with the citations, and I'm not exactly sure why, if there's just more of a focus on the writing itself. But I feel like, we're probably more equipped to do the citation styles, and I don't want to do the writing portion of it. So, I mean, I feel like that's a good partnership, and we've had a good working relationship with the tutoring center in the past, and I'm hoping that will come back at some point. I've been very disappointed to see that kind of go onto the back burner. So I think there's good and bad to that. Those have been some really good questions.
Do you have very many international students?
Percentage-wise, probably not. I think we have about 1,800 FTE on campus, and I believe about 100 or so international students. Most of them do live on campus in campus housing. And I know I had one student in my course this fall that he was from Vietnam, and he was actually taking all his courses online from Vietnam because he could not get back into the country in time for the semester to start. He's hoping to come back in the spring, which was kind of interesting to work with him. It was a little different than just our students that are at home somewhere across the US because of the time difference. But I found he was a very good student and very engaged in the learning process. So that was very much in his favor. But yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Dow. I appreciate that. I do enjoy what I do here at the library. It gives me a lot of satisfaction and keeps me encouraged in what I'm doing. So, well, I hate to end things a little bit earlier, but if there's no other questions, I think we could we could all have a little bit of a break before the next session.
Get some water and stretch. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.
Okay.